All right. Hi, Minister.
It's a pleasure to be
good to
here.
see you. A full 48 hours,
Welcome
I think.
back to the House of Commons.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back. I hope you are as well. I wanted to start off actually on some of the things that are going to be important to Canadians here, and primarily this tax cut that your government has promised. I know we spoke last week. Have there been any additional conversations with members of the opposition that give you confidence that that will most definitely happen?
Well, look, again, I'd be very surprised that any party or any member in this House would be against an income tax cut that would apply to every single tax-paying Canadian, which is what we will be presenting very, very shortly. You'll obviously have to ask them what their reaction is to that tax cut when it's tabled, but I'm pretty confident that this will meet with all party support.
Will you be introducing it this week?
Yes.
Okay. And then on the potential for other parties to support it, in particular, I wanted to ask you about the New Democrats, because they had asked you for official party status, that they didn't meet the threshold. You have denied that request. Why?
Well, to be clear, I didn't deny the request. In the law, 12 members are required to have recognized party status in the House. So I was merely stating fact. In order to change that, it would require a broad consensus of the House of Commons, a consensus that I'm unaware exists as of this point. However, there have been a number of constructive conversations with Mr. Davies. I know he's had some with some of the other opposition parties. He certainly has with me. I'm very open to entertaining some of his more practical requests. Those discussions are ongoing. I can't tell you when they will culminate, but we will not either be an obstacle to those discussions reaching their endpoint. So I'm going to continue doing that, and we very much want to honor the history and the traditions and the role of the New Democratic Party.
So let me understand that though again, because yes, you didn't explicitly deny, but you are an obstacle in the way of forming that consensus. It is the view of the government that they should not be given official party status. Is that correct?
Well, 7 members out of 12. This is something conferred on me by Parliament. I don't get to change laws on a whim.
But you could enable a process that could.
But the Parliament of Canada Act is kind of in a separate category of law where you want to have broad consensus among all parties in the House. That number has been pretty stable at 12. I think New Democrats understand that they're well short of that number, so we've really focused our conversations on other more practical ways that we can honor the traditions, the history of the New Democrats.
That tax cut that you will introduce this week is part of a parcel of things that were promised during the campaign, echoed through the mandate letter and in the speech to caucus by the Prime Minister yesterday, that have, in my view, a very specific focus: transforming the economy, in his words, into the strongest in the G7. Why should we trust the party that weakened our economy to now strengthen it?
Well, I don't know that that would be a fair characterization, but I will say that we are committed to strengthening the Canadian economy. We have housing challenges. The GST cut on new homes is absolutely aimed at both affordability and with meeting this housing challenge, making houses more affordable for first-time and new home buyers. We want to absolutely reduce the income taxes that Canadians pay, another affordability measure. These things in and of themselves will strengthen the economy, but there will be some more proposed structural reforms in the form of this bill that we've been discussing, that was committed in our platform to remove interprovincial trade barriers, to make it more easy to work across this country, to make it more easy to build a 21st century economy in Canada. We'll be focused very clearly on that. You saw the Natural Resources Minister, I think, outline a vision for growth to the Calgary Chamber of Commerce last Friday. All of the things that I think we'll be presenting will be very, very consistent with a vision of economic growth. And as the Prime Minister has said, we can do more things for ourselves than others can try and deny us.
It's not mine. When you say it's not a fair characterization, it's not mine. It's actually the Prime Minister's. During the Liberal leadership, he said, our economy was weak before we got to the point of these threats from President Trump. He pointed to, for example, over the last 5 years, economic growth being driven by the big increase in the labor force, which was largely because of the surge in immigration and by government spending. So again, when you talk about all of these things that are structural in nature, I'm not sure why Canadians should be convinced that this government, which was the same party in the last government responsible for weakening the economy, will all of a sudden turn things around to the point where we all become the strongest economy in the G7.
This is a new government, a new leader, new set of priorities. You saw the marching orders that we got in the form of a mandate letter last week that outlined 7 very, very focused priorities designed to achieve that kind of economic growth in this country. We have some 70 new members of parliament. This is a renewed, refreshed team, certainly with a number of new ministers, a new prime minister at the top, and I know we're excited to dig in.
The objective, though, is so explicit, to transform the economy. If we, for example, take the strongest economy in the G7, at the U.S., last year it grew by 2.8% real GDP. Canada only grew by half that, 1.5%. When you talk about removing internal trade barriers, your government talks about that potentially adding $200 billion to the economy, but that's only at full tilt. If all the federal and provincial barriers are removed, including supply management, which no party in the House of Commons is willing to go near. Realistically, what kind of change economically is your government going to affect? Because the stats don't necessarily bear out your rhetoric.
Well, we think that there's an important leadership component to the things that we'll be doing, Vashi. And the bill that we will be proposing absolutely will, yes, add to our GDP in and of itself.
By how much?
But we'll send, well, I'm not going to get into those numbers, but what I will say there is a target-rich environment there. There is a lot of growth that we can unlock in the Canadian economy if both the federal government and the provinces and territories collaborate on making the economy more fluid, on getting rid of useless and needless regulations, on making it easier for professionals and tradespeople to work right across this country. We can do great things for our economy, and this is the federal government making its contribution to the problem itself, but also demonstrating leadership.
But even right now, right, you can't be explicit, and your government has not been thus far, in what exactly is going to be the economic consequence, because you're using very heavy rhetoric. We're going to transform this economy. We're going to be the strongest economy in the G7. We are not right now. We are nowhere close to that, particularly on a per capita basis. And nobody can tell me, even by this one piece of legislation, how much better the economy is going to get. Look,
we know we've had persistent struggles to achieve our targeted economic growth in this economy. We've had a lot of headwinds. We have a trade environment that is becoming a lot more difficult, needless to say. We've had wars in the Middle East, war in Europe and Ukraine. There have been a lot of headwinds for this economy, but we're not going to be making those excuses. We want to put in place...
But you kind of are. To be fair, that's what your government under Justin Trudeau kept doing.
No, I'm describing the headwinds against which we will be applying a whole bunch of economic medicine. One of the big down payments on that will be this bill that we're talking about to make our country's economy more fluid. You saw the Natural Resources Minister talk about other elements of our economic growth plan. We'll be investing in infrastructure that will be trade enabling, that will enable us to open markets around the world for our exports, whether that's ports or railway facilities, inland ports, what have you. There are a whole bunch of things that we can do to unlock growth in the Canadian economy that we can do for ourselves, that no one else can take away from us. Mr. Carney has us very, very focused. Let's make no bones about it. Mr. Carney's singular focus is on achieving growth and wealth for Canadian households.
Okay, I'm going to leave it on that note. Minister MacKinnon, pleasure as always. Thank you.
Thank you.